Well, welcome to the first event of our fall 2024 season. We hope that these programs and this space will serve as a sanctuary for vulnerability, for community, and friendship during this incredibly divisive and vital election season. And with your help, we hope we can hold unknowing and knowing, humor and humility, conviction and receptivity, truth and beauty, activism and contemplation, cash and check, the whole spectrum in equal grace. To that end, we've planned a season. I don't know if everyone got one of these, that includes tonight's blockbuster Boston Originals reading with amazing trailblazing authors that you're going to hear. We're also, who's dinging? Only because we're recording this for the archive, and I just, the eternal dings. Oh, we're outing them. Okay, anyway, we have planned a season that includes a reading called Other Influences. It's a feminist avant-garde poetry reading featuring an encyclopedic array of trailblazing poets. Bernie for Burlington, that will not feature a cameo appearance by the Byrne, but his unauthorized renegade memoirist-in-chief, Dan Chasen. He's going to give us a sneak preview of his 900-page Thornton Wilderian opus. Then we're going to have the T.S. Eliot Memorial reading with Cecilia Vicuña, plus a pop-up exhibit featuring a few of Cecilia's incredibly stunning word weapons, which we hope will be a little antidote to the NRA, poetry being the only weapon that also loves. And on November 4th, the night before the election, we're going to host the Enormous Chorus, a sonic civic experiment that invites poets, singers, members of the public to come together and make some radical harmonies and joyful noise. It's going to be led by a woman. I consider the next Joan Baez. Her name's Erin Hogan. She actually is at the new Club Passim, Club 47 at Passim. And essentially, we're going to do a bunch of Pauline Oliveros-inspired activities, teach some Seeger songs. Then the evening will culminate with peace caroling out on the streets. And the caroling is optional. The peace is not. Anyone who can hum, anyone who can hold a vowel longer than the word no is invited, and no musical experience is required. And finally, in November and December, assuming the Republic holds, and almost even if it doesn't, we've got an oral history of the Fag Rag Collective, which explores Boston as an early epicenter of gay liberation and anarchic literary activities. And Jim Dunn is going to be a part of that. And we've got Ilya Kaminsky reading his own work as well as the work of his beloved friend and collaborator, Jean Valentine, who made her first recording ever here at the Poetry Room in 1965. And a book launch and listening party for Darkness Spoken, the collected poems of Ingeborg Bachmann, published by Boston's own Zephyr Press. So there you go. And now to tonight's event. We are deeply honored to welcome you to Boston Originals, a series that seeks to document some of the most vital and innovative work emerging from and intersecting with New England at this time. Boston Originals is a series we founded as a way to honor Bohemian Boston. Try not to laugh. Not as a Brahmin city on a hill, but as a site of meeting and of passage, of inhabitants and visitants, a place that is centered on the commotions of the sea and on study, a place, in other words, of poetry. And what is poetry? As Inger Christensen once said, it is a place where things are put into action, into relationship, encompassing all zones and degrees of relationship, abstract, concrete, complex, primary, secondary, central, peripheral, mystical. I can't imagine a gathering of poets that more exemplifies these dimensions than the 6 honored guests we have in the room with us tonight, who have each offered to share 10 minutes of their work. Please lift up your hands and join me in welcoming Sean Cole, Octavio Gonzalez, Antonio Romeo Ochoa, Ted Pearson, Trace Peterson, I don't have my glasses on, the good glasses on, and Eleni Siklianos, who will read in that order. Lift up your hands.
This is exciting. Thanks so much, you guys. I am so honored to be here. Poem for Billy Joel. I did happen to start the fire, actually. Ripped a bunch of rumpled information from the pile beside the nostril in my house. I'm lucky. No New York apartment has an analog invector like this, which is why all the Nimrods in your music keep breaking up with each other. Up Hudson Way, where Nimrods get divorced, is Storm King Mountain. It stretches for a cold cloud. So moronic. Storm King is a type of furnace, after all. We learn this from the combo New Radiant Storm King, on whose albums all connubiality remains intact. You could learn a thing or two from them, Mr. Hicksville. Farther north are two abutting towns what cuddle out the frozen latitude. New Radiance, they're called, and Storm King, no kidding. Weirdly, out in Colorado, a whole other mountain called Storm King caught fire in 1994. It understood the meaning of its name. I know the meaning of my name, Sean Cole. It means God is swarthy. Your name, on the other hand, means condom Jehovah. I say this not to front on you, as the idiom goes, hence cold front, hence cold snap, hence oh snap, hence damn that shit is cold. No, I say this to disarm the de-domiciling bomb of your baleful lyric, Mr. Joel. I beg you, tear down this Italian restaurant. There's a lot of coded Boston, Massachusetts-y stuff in there, if you caught it or didn't. It's funny to be here because I was the derelict wearing combat boots on the outside of the wool in the pit, which doesn't exist anymore, which makes me sad. But yeah, I feel like I snuck in, and they don't know I'm here. This is a newer one. It's called Midwood. Now a guy you used to fuck is in an Instagram ad for supplements. His fake-backed hair surprising. Now we cross the street to give the eagles and wrens time to dine their carrion. By we, I mean me. I've got 2 limes in my pocket, and yonder wine shop looks so lonely. What the feeble rain tells us about its bus brother is how to be generative, even with empty prowess, even while wheat shadows leap upon pharmacy walls. It's scary out here in marginal clubland, fussing of keys and sheets to be mowed of someone's Cupid atoms. The guy you used to fuck once piggybacked you at Coachella, which I guess is great, and now he hawks pills like Tom Hanks in Smith Corona influencer Bas Relief. We tell ourselves stories about those whose genitals we pine and whom they've been spanked by in hairbrush degrees. Compersion lacks discernment, or can anyway. The flesh march the world forges forth on is desperate, yes, and largely ignored. The unexamined fetishistic ex-Valium salesman is not worth deleting from speed dial. Oh, sedation. What it takes sometimes to sit in the dry pool, feel the cool clay for the forgiveness it is. Balmy out here suddenly, and policeless, not a cloud. And then these are, I wrote sonnets with my dear friend and great poet, Christina Strong, in February of 2020, daily. We would swap daily sonnets for that February, and then we did it again in 2024. And it was just so much fun. And I wish she were here because she would be reading hers, which are superior to mine. But these are the 4 of the ones from this year. So this is February 1 of this year. So I drank last night, and it wasn't a good idea. It was a great idea. Turns out the ache I make in others isn't purely down to the blue symptom bunched under my highball. But like the lone dollar that Old Man Face Tattoo hands the Spanish language rapper on the 7 as it pulls out of Court Square Station to parts well known, it helps. It hurts to be en carne, and a bit of liquid corsage pins my buttons somewhat tighter to my tree trunk. A lot of it makes me blossom into a marsh. Peonies die once you pick them up at the farmer's market, and then you stencil them if you are my friend Bill. I suppose I'll miss saucing when I'm finally a film star by dint of my high bottom, but only some. February 15th. Obviously, these are American sonnets, not like, they're not, 14 lines, boom, go have a sandwich. February 15th. Shall it be me, sings Timothy Chalamet whilst cooking shallots on a sham cooking show. We had a band called Tim and Him. Our logo, 2 crossed fingerlings and a nice Bernays. Praise feels harder when it's half-handed, like from our off audience. All the world's backstage when you're him. All the world's a cage, the men and women merely pliers. So escapeless, this pliant island, though I walk like a peninsula and photograph well enough alone. In Timothy's apartment, we look at pictures of bridges with Beau Bridges, who's so into it. Babies scale the cable stays in one depiction, real babies, made of wood and silk. We're shooting a commercial for Pure Rage. Constipated? Try Pure Rage, the adenoid enlarger that shoots mood juice through your recollector. The past bringing the past up to a hump and dumping it. No more memory blank. I wish it paid more. Today, every day, is Chalamet tattooed on a nubile rump. His Shayna Punim stays stable like one baseball, blameless, calculable, and Empyrean. February 20th. This one actually has a title, unlike the rest of them of mine. And the title is Azure, a Membrane Talisman. Deep in Palestrina, the blue kids New Orleans against a carpet wall. Who hears? Their listless beds hungry, Daycat mewling for his palace tuna. Every alley is eye alley, mosaic of iris, networking high snakes. I like smooth evil, the kind I hurl an empty shoebox with in even rooms. Twice I hit the rock clinic for heraldic services. The girl there, hair defined in phases, she had a square hammer, size of a worm. I said, I want a permanent warrant, something durable, maybe in a hewn teal. She said, come back later. Turned a sawhorse on its side, drilled a hole in it, slid $1 in the hole with my name written. When I returned, there was no girl, no sawhorse, no dollar, and no warrant. So I stayed. The proprietrix now. Immutive. Hawking brass beans as indulgences. February 27th. I'm reading this one because Trace said that she liked it. And that was huge praise for me, because Trace Peterson is one of my favorite poets in the world. So I'm very happy to be reading with her right now. February 27th. Now, I know that neither of us is totally made of cement, so the silence as we up the stairs is hard of hearing in its loneliness. Green grows the pock of tennis noise, one fist to another. Hercule is the rouge on your face, seeking questions. I suck. Hear that sound? That's me sucking all tree air into hornet's cage and plucking the nouns out. Hand that to you. Here. What do you hear but collage? Does that stain? Take my hand. No, wait, there's a lake in it still. I didn't tell anyone till I told you how tin cup I've been. A day at least. The face of this too tumorous. Molars for toes. Days or darts pinned down in armless protest. Now that neither of us is a house, Who can say who said who isn't made of sable tied to a branch? No wind. And this last one's in this little chapbook that's over there, if curious. This is also there. A book and another book. Merchandise. There's a part in there where I go, take my hand, and I think of, because you do that in that poem I love, take my hand. And like when I say it, I think of you saying it, and I can't help saying it like you. So anyway, this is what we call community. If you see something, say something. Yeah, take my hand. Okay, last one. This is called Bum Skylight. You don't write a poem on a couch, said Joe. The hell does he know? This Davenport has seen elegant generations, loose canonical halogen. I'm on the phone with my accountant right now, coughing in both ears. The couch is over there, but I'm near it. I can hear it perpending, decent in its thoughts. Oh, Christ, says Peter, speaking of Toronto, where Joe lives, his sofa absent of its heroes. Oh, Joe, St. Joseph, St. Augustine, I can't tell any of you apart. I could write a poem here on the phone, on a boat, in a bathroom, curled up in the aspic of a cornflower, they call them bachelor's buttons, atop a tower, in collegiate labs with all their earnest burners. I could roll up and patiently break Joe's gold horn in Canada, the proxy boxers near the bus stop on Dufferin punching poems into each other's ears. I'm mad that Joe never much dug me, even as I love the stones it took to dictate where I can and can't scrive a bit of rune. I'm in Minneapolis now, on the smoking platform of what once was walled Chamberlain Field, months away from having begun this. Joseph dancer, Joe in a pair of pants. Oh, where do we dance? The whole earth's blood kingdom may never be aware. Thanks very much.
Hello. Can you all hear me okay? Hi, everyone. I'm Octavio Gonzalez, and I'm thrilled to be here. I want to thank Mary for inviting me, and just have a few poems I want to share. And one is a work in progress, which is called Conversations with My Fathers. And the other I'll read from my book, Limerence. So I hate doing this, but I do have content warnings for strong language, violence, graphic bodily function, and sexuality, including homosexuality. I should say one thing about this. There's a reference to buying blood in this poem. And my family is from Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic. And in the 70s, you had to purchase blood to get a transfusion. He bought the blood to save my mother's life when they cut her ventrum in half to splice me out of the womb, a 9-pound infant who peed in his mother's mouth when she awoke and held me. His hair is all white now, soft as a unicorn's or a real steed not yet ready to become mythical. 1. The Honeymooners, the Jeffersons, Bugs Bunny, even Alice's Restaurant. I watched them all, black and white and technicolor, in a powder blue bedroom without windows, the TV screen my only window into worlds made of English, unaccented, generic, perfect, or quite the contrary. To the moon, Alice, Ralph Cramden bellowed, his signature line with the uppercut gesture, menace hidden in canned laughter. I don't want to write this, so I take off my glasses and squint in blurry vision, the sound of this, that, or the other, what the TV was on, my American babysitter. But I must stop crying now. Put back my $300 frames, progressive lenses for my middle-aged vision. A scar down her belly, ugly as cicatrix, the Latin more realistic, the Spanish too real, that marred my mother's forehead, though bangs would have hidden it. A perfect C, a third eye, the last clairvoyante, I once called her. Even in this poem, her story takes some precedence, for she it was who told me all these fathers were better than only. I count 3. No, 3.5, 3 3/4. How many men have I slept with? Do I count each one as a father? That, my friend, sister, brother, lover, is a step too far, a step beyond the precipice of this story. 1. I don't stand like Richard III, lame-legged, after killing his brother's children, to ascend to the throne of Lancaster, or was it York, rose red or rose white, and declaim now is the winter of our discontent. Richard and his 3 eyes, his 3 victims, my 3 fathers, all but one dead. I bet he still carries his heavy backpack on one shoulder, the opposite that I carry mine on, or maybe the same. Which would you rather? My hair is only salt and pepper, more black than gray, curlier, afro-ish, and as proud am I of it as I am sad for its demise. That too is winter. 1. We lived in Puerto Rico when we first came to America. A real country house, my sister said. Another family's heirlooms and mahogany furniture, and rooms dappled by the large tree of cerezas outside, which fell in all colors, orange, green, marigold. The walls cameoed with strangers' family portraits. We were squatting and living richly, relatively. Shiny small sedan instead of the enormous Oldsmobile we settled in when the dream ended and we came to Brooklyn. Above a bodega with a Miss Pac-Man arcade, and for the first time, snow, which we rolled in, wearing tan members-only jackets, not feeling the cold until my sister and me ran into some trouble. On our street, 5 boys, maybe 4, one as young as me, 10 years old, one maybe younger, 2 as old as Myosotis, 15, and their mother. We didn't speak English, so she used gestures to demand we, that is to say my sister, give up her gold earrings. The boys, my age, laughed as I stood frozen at my sister's shame, unable to defend us, for I am no fighter. And that was our first snow. It was maybe 40 degrees. It couldn't have been. Do you remember that scene in Moonlight when the camera spins 360 degrees, circling around the middle school bully with his narrowed eyes spoiling for a fight in the cafeteria? I was only 10, and there were 6 of them, but they were a family. You understand now what it means to be a mother, what it means to be a coward. My sister's age was a fucking problem. I mean, if I were 16 then, and she younger, well, then I would have done what? Un maricón, un pajarito, more femme than my sister. Those boys laughed at me for taking no stance at all. I didn't even raise my fists. Or did he? Would it make any difference if he did? They laughed at me, rigidly wanting to defend my sister, her earrings, which was all we had of any value for them. I did or didn't. And how muscular these arms are now. These are merely decorative. But my sister's shame, my stupor at the inhuman comedy of their pantomime. This is a robbery. This is a family. One. It was like that, Brooklyn in the 80s. A neighborhood called the Broadway Triangle, I later learned. We lived at 666 Flushing Avenue. I am not fucking kidding you. The neighborhood wasn't Bushwick, not Bed-Stuy, not Williamsburg, but it also formed part of all three of them. A no man's land with factories and body shops, abandoned yards full of cast-offs, hills of car tires I used to climb, my own jungle, a private kingdom. My sister and I played in a yard surrounded by chain link, grass and dirt softened by mounds of snow. And then they hit. Except they didn't. They only menaced, gesticulating, mouths agape with burla, mockery, defiance. The family that robs together. The shadow of Woodhull Hospital came later. And I'm going to read one more from my collection. Thank you. This is the opening poem in this collection, Limerence, which I have a few there, shamelessly plugging my wares. This is called When I Was Little. I was warned not to put small change in my mouth, or else I would swallow it. I used to swirl nickels, pennies, even dimes sometimes, ever so gently, like treasure. One time I swallowed a nickel. I panicked, but my family told me it would be okay. I looked for it for days after this. I never held coins in my mouth again, knowing it would not be safe. Thank you so much.
Hello, thank you for the invitation. My name is Antonio Ochoa, and the poems do not have titles, so I'm just going to take a little pause between them. The spiral sparks out from Frank Etienne's white head. It hovers on top of Eduardo's white head and loops around the memory of my grandfather Antonio's white head. Secret principles of white fiber nautical knots whose dynamics overflow the plane's coordinates. Knots do not have a center. Their opening oscillates concatenated between the horns of two bulls in the sand before the fight. In the speed between them, the space-time plane bounces the spiral into a rhythmical multiplicity meshed between the seats of the bull ring. Leaning on a stone wall where we used to light up Marlboro Reds before school, a raw November morning, I saw the small spiral tobacco clouds floating up from our lips, merged with the rain clouds in the metallic city sky. Lead-infused gasoline fumes forming a film on our skin. At the beach in Tuxpan, sitting on Carta Blanca metal chairs in our still wet bathing suits, the first sips of coconut water highlighted the taste of the sea. Behind the kitchen, a pile of cleaved coconut shells. At 14, I lit my cigarettes with the same gestures that my grandma used to make lighting hers, sitting at the garden table. We would spend whole afternoons looking at the sunlight, losing shades of lilacs and blues from the jacaranda flowers as they spun on their way down to my mom's red car. I felt the first spiral when I was 6 years old. I was watching a peanut commercial with my brother sitting in our parents' big brass bed. The nocturnal butterflies I had seen the night before circling the lantern broke out of the TV screen. Maybe coming out of the womb was like a spiral. I thought watching them fly around before landing on my feet. They walked in through my toenails and fluttered in the hypodermis of my shins. My knees became vaults where the butterflies whirled around from bedtime till daybreak. In the silent nights of Coyoacán, I could hear them flap around like an echo chamber. In the silent nights of Cambridge, I can still hear the memory of their wings. Dostoevsky's Smell of Tiger Balm. And even though this space does not lend itself to explain it fully, cinnamon, camphor, clove, the scholar continued, menthol, the mine, there is verifiable evidence of the fact that the writer would spread the ancient balsam daily on his prominent facial hair for two main reasons. A, to give it shine and moisturize it, and B, because the vapors that rose throughout the day from the follicles to his nasal cavities lessened his long-lasting headaches. But one of the hypotheses that I would like to present to you today, he continued, is that these vapors from the balm were what allowed him to follow the luminous orange spiral of the reel as it broke into words. On the foam of the sharp waves of the vertex, the breath that moves love like a spiral arrives at a balance. You saw your first spiral when you were 11 years old, coming out of 6 o'clock mass with your aunt. The arms of light spitting out of the pigeon's breast blinded you. When you lived next to Edinburgh Castle, you heard another one discharge from the 1 o'clock gun and glide towards the North Sea. At 45 in Mount Auburn Cemetery, you saw another one open out from your mouth as you read Pierre Joris's translations of Celan. Spirals burst out from every headstone, extending all the way to the Caribbean. Each mind watched their skulls form rows like in a zompantli. The rock poles thump hard on their temporal lobes. The spiral is multidimensional, an energy in constant expansion. Spirals like to hide in other spirals inside spiral galaxies. This is why it's not easy to talk about them. Nevertheless, we can talk about undercrofts. For example, possums gather in the undercroft to sing hymns to their dead. Although the funerary rituals have not been adequately documented, it is said that there is an undercroft beneath the flower clock in the Sunken Park in Mexico City. A few years back, an old woman fell in while she was out walking her schnauzer. Before she passed, she heard their songs against time, and a couple of possums standing on ladders were pushing bouquets of flowers up to the surface. The spiral begins on a word casting off mooring knots. The lump in the throat, like a small knot that I felt, seeing the pomegranate grains spiral out from the soldiers' dark glasses, in the Zocalo metro station one Saturday afternoon as I was holding my brother's hand and he our dad's. Outside in Moneda Street, we got separated in the rain. My brother and I found each other in Soledad, and we took refuge in the museum under a giant liver. Dad found us there, dressed as a stag, his hands holding little broken blue pieces of Chinese pottery. Samuel Beckett's head started to float in 1989, when he stumbled by the entrance of a cave in the south of France. It reminded him of the marble arch caves in Northern Ireland. I would like to explore the area by bike, he thought. I would tell Suzanne, he thought, before realizing that he was now only a suspended head at the entrance of a cave. The folds of his pallid skin started to glow, illuminating the rock faces. Heads of bison, herds of horses, stags, zigzags and spirals. In the shadowy silence of the chamber, from his half-open lips, he whispered, "Qu'importe qui parle." His nomad eyes squinting as if he had just walked up the ridge of a dune, longing to see something more than sand in the horizon. The head of Samuel Beckett floats in the darkness, dimly lit by the incandescence of his wrinkles, isomorphic with the rocks of the cave. A hotel with spiral corridors, an airport with spiral runways, waves breaking and breaking against the seawall. To run up the stairs of a lighthouse at dawn, a port with spiral piers. To run down the stairs in Chambord, a hospital with spiral beds, a book with spiral letters and glove with spiral fingers, the horns of an immense kudu. On the kitchen table, an empty bottle and a corkscrew. The muzzle from where Emiliana's multicolored eyes come out spinning. We buried Dad in a cemetery with concatenated graves that, like the spines of a sea urchin, all lead down to the same center. The ash tree vibrating like the wings of a bee hovering in front of your eyes. A summer afternoon on aquamarine bedsheets, small sweat drops dripping. The center of the sun exploding, ejections of the coronal mass, the topography of the rose, the trip through Greece we never did take to see Ionic columns. The morning sun comes through the window next to the framed copy of Blake's Jacob's Ladder. A garden in Coyoacan with a basil patch around a stone fountain with angels and knotted Franciscan ropes. Acanthus and ferns. A fig tree and a jacaranda. On the red soil, the ash tree's shadow swaying, leaves and branches. Leaning on its trunk, Emiliana holds a handful of luminous snails, dreaming of an earth full of luminous gardens. A handful of luminous hearts dripping snails on a white bench. A luminous heart pumping snail's blood. A small luminous wound dripping snails striking the hydrographic map of the Valley of Mexico. Each luminous strike is a wave of solar radiation, propelling a heart to the center of the galactic spiral that patiently waits for the snails to finish exploring the palm of her hand. Thank you.
Good evening. It's a pleasure to be here, and much thanks to Mary and Chris for making it possible. I have a new book out, Chamber Music, from Shearsman Books in the UK, just out last week. And I'd like to share with you, it's too long to read all of the first piece, but I'd like to share the last half of it with you. It's called False Cadences. I put forward these distinctions as replacements for other distinctions and against them. Jacques Rancière. Got to get them in order. That would be excellent. Good. Absent the tongue of men and angels, he seeks the language silence frees. Whenever matter matters most, spirits spirit themselves away, leaving the fight to another day. Death alone can belay his quest to witness the sublime. His love of fate accepts what is, which yields this paradigm, to see the world each morning as if for one last time. From finitude, finality, from fortitude, reprieve. With death advancing daily, there's little time to grieve. Life being brief, there is work to be done before we take our leave. Nouns are names for other nouns. Verbs beget critiques. Syntax renders the order of things both common and unique. Antecedents find themselves absorbed by the eye that speaks. Flowers fade faster than the words that describe them. Beauty is more than duration. In spring, they'll return to bloom once again and mirror our aspirations. Flatliners frolic on flat earth and worship amid the ruins. Given their faith is based on lies, nothing is illumined. Are they then quite human enough, or are they all too human? Alone together in a crowded room, the poet and his double. Absent faith in a future that deceived them, hope is a word they would no sooner use than ever again believe in. A choir comprises a conspiracy of tongues, which assembled become as one. Call it devotion, or call it art. Call it a pact with the devil, who coveted their souls from the start. He sees connections wherever he looks. Points of light in the burgeoning darkness shine like distant stars, but it's only the made poem that shows them for what they are. who dwells among strangers keeps to his rooms. In the prison courtyard, a torture garden blooms. Only now has he come to accept that his exile will end in a foreign tomb. The dead left countless poems behind, and some continue to haunt the poet, caught as he is in a double bind between his battles with the current regime and the ravages of time. It's odd how often the end comes first, as if our lives were afterthoughts, complete with jobs and bosses. With friends and lovers now dispersed, our memories number our losses. In hell, there's no telling people apart. Good and evil were myths from the start. Mortality earmarks all at birth, except those angels who fell to earth. One wrong turn, and he ended up where they deal from the bottom of a pack of lies. Now immured in the fictive world, he wants to say his life is real, damned if he knows why. Silence reigns in the gap between the letters that form our words, gaps whereof we cannot speak. We whose lines once thought oblique will prove as true as they are bleak. True believers spread the grief that follows the terror of true belief. The great dead populate living texts, but being dead, they know too well exactly what comes next. To rise enraptured is to fall in agony, whence the myth of heaven and hell. Wherever equal opposites attract, extinctions plague the anti-world of the world we left intact. Absent a reason, if not the desire, to take up the songs of his youth, the poet found yet darker songs with which to speak his truth. Darker meaning deeper, as in closer to his roots. The restless ocean pounds the shore. Storm waves swell, then break apart, not unlike an aging heart. Wearied by use and past its prime, it beats regardless in common time. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. It's wonderful to be here. It's an honor to see so many friends who I care about. And I'm going to read you some poems from my second book that's forthcoming, which is titled The Valleys Are So Lush and Steep. After, before, and after. I've been freed from inside the fall of Rome, my contract disrupted. Civilization will not descend without my bet against it rising, a weather balloon that hangs against a vast, usurped sky. A carrier pigeon to be carries me, and from here I could find the edge of the cunning, supposedly clear window that divides us from the world of Michael Kors, that divides a kiss from its aftertaste. A coda is a beginning. After, before, and after humane enclosures, air whips through with a taste for blood, oranges, and secret, unpoliced, temporal lace have been spread out, imagining possible goddesses in bed. What's free about a woman's stubble? What's enhanced? Delivering an urgent note across a field of blue. No one could see the vast crowd. This is a working sentence. Someone walks by. 3 sentences standing around bonding. Terrible, terrible sentences. The 3rd sentence resents the 4th sentence more than the 5th. Sitting in a late cafe crying, trying to stare down carbs with the mistress's tools, a panoply of belated newsprint, a drain stopper with a dripping faucet, coming in and coming out of the same entrance marked urgent, paragraphs concealing whole illegal phrases. You marked me like this. Your flesh was a styrofoam packing glitch. My flesh was plastic rotary phone alimony. I carried about you into my term limits. No one could see the vast crowd. Is my protection really there? Is my storm drain a liar, I said, a lair? If you can hear the sound of my voice, if you can weep. Who seek the quiet, non-quiet ingenue, showing up with an awareness strapped to her back and frills and seasonless outhouse amending night. If you can swallow a horse pill, if you can correct the record so it flips closed, if you can barrel through the legislation with a fringe, pages and pages betray one another on a whim. Stand up to the breaker, maybe. The surface is grime, the spandrels, a delicate balance, the fasces that made our avarice great. They entrap a womb to leverage mani-pedi channels. Actually, I don't have a mani-pedi lack. Resistance comes back. The tumbling Locrian meat house of our maker, our grower, our pretender. Very, 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 very. To flatten out the stomach acid, to paint the birds closed, a public forest of intangible treeless forms applauding their ascension. The recycle bin moves me to tears like a second chance for ampersand hearts, a lariat and a missile shield. What is this poem really about, Trace? Well, last week you died. You did. Everything was getting so concrete. I didn't know you were going to leave, and the medium was keeping us apart. A panoply of belated newsprint, sitting in a late cafe, crying. I discover, just as you have become a signal rushing through a wire signing off, people are not words or sentences. I hate social media. You were so positive, and I argued back continually. If the floor pulled out with each new memory, blaming as a distraction, how many more will die? When does the surrealism dry up completely? If you can hear the sound of my voice, tonight I'm at a protest march in the cold. In socialist realist syntax, I am shouting up at a distant apartment window, trying to provoke any action from a complacent person in power. Oh. Wow, good applause. Okay, are there any MAGA people here today? Yeah. Just a couple? So this is probably okay if it's just a couple. I had a couple, yeah. This guy, some people connected to Ron DeSantis went after me about a year ago, year and a half ago online, and were stalking me and threatening me, and were trying to get people incensed about this poem, which they did not realize has a significant amount of irony involved in it, which is pretty representative of their whole thing. So I'm going to read it to you because I just insist on reading it all the time now because, it's like, might as well. Everyone is a little trans. Everyone is a little trans. Everyone is a little bisexual. Everyone is a little genderqueer. Everyone is a little not there. Everyone is a little NB. Everyone is a little gender fluid. Everyone is a little 12-inch pianist. Everyone is a little cis. Everyone is a little circular rubbing motion. Everyone thinks they're Billy Ocean. Everyone is a forgotten hit record. Everyone is a little good at sex. Everyone is a little bad at gender. Everyone is a little changeable. Everyone is a little rigidly stuck in their thing. Everyone is a post office worker. Everyone is an abandoned carousel with empty horses going around and around and around. Everyone is a little lurker. Everyone is a little mako shark. Everyone is a little romper-wearing narc. Everyone is a little tailor with a broadcloth under their arm. Everyone is a little stitch in time. Everyone is a little grammatical error that changed the meaning of our relationship completely by accidentally introducing a surprise microaggression. Everyone is a little discriminated against. Everyone is a little interested in sitting on the dryer while it vibrates. Everyone tells us everyone is a little gay means everyone who is cis. Everyone is a little white, crisply ironed shirt. Everyone is a poet. Everyone says no more than what they meant. Everyone has disappeared from sight. Everyone is a little missing. Everyone is a little ventriloquized by this puppet. Everyone farts with their armpit. Everyone is a little scientist building rockets. Everyone says it's not rocket science, even when it is. Everyone is an ineffective gangster. Everyone is camped out waiting on the grass for Shakespeare in the Park tickets. Everyone is a little unspecific thing. Everyone is a spork. Everyone is a precise floating ethereal ectoplasm, except when it's time to pick up a paycheck or eat or have sex or clean the bathroom or get attacked on the street for just existing. Everyone is a little angry. Everyone is getting on my last nerve. Everyone has poor food truck boundaries. Everyone shows a complete lack of respect for lack. Everyone is a little ignorant of how much better they have it than everyone. Everyone is a method actor. Everyone is a monster. Everyone drives a tractor. Everyone provides a blank member. Everyone listens to thrash metal. Everyone guesses the lottery number correctly. Everyone wins. Everyone is a little newt. Everyone collapses into parallel dimensions when they hear a Broadway musical begin. Everyone is now a little standoffish. Everyone is better than everyone else. Everyone is enjoying being penetrated. Everyone by stunning realizations and ideas from the history of Western thought. Everyone is a little tired of liberal arts and its oppressive regime. Everyone is a little academically non-conforming. Everyone is a little ADD. Everyone is me. Everyone is a little hog-tied. Everyone is a little burbling brook. Everyone ditched their nook. Everyone is a little more into buying things online now to save trees from certain destruction, even though global warming doesn't officially exist. Everyone is a little smarter. Everyone is a little taller because of all the preservatives. Everyone is a little prepackaged. Everyone is wreckage. Thank you.
Hello, you all. Hi. Thank you so much to Mary and Christina for considering me a Bostoner. I'm so glad to be included in this Boston crew. Distant Providence is close enough, I would say. And I'm so delighted to be reading with each of the poets. It's wonderful to be here. I'm going to read pretty much all new poems. I'm going to read maybe one or two poems from my most recent book, just because one is supposed to do that. But I'm going to read all new poems that I think there's one that I've read before in a different form. Tonight's the first time I'm trying these out. And so these are kind of accruing into a manuscript that I just recently decided is going to be called Heaven and Earth Magic Magic. And if you know Harry Smith's work. You might recognize that as a title of one of his cut-up and collage films. If you don't know who Harry Smith is, check him out. He's an amazing experimental filmmaker, collector, incredible collector. He collected tons of American folk music that became songs that people like Dylan and the Stones covered and so forth. He was also shaman in residence when I was a student at the Jack Kerouac School of Disembodied Poetics, and my boyfriend at the time and he smoked a lot of pot together. So, and the manuscript starts with a quote from the great Uruguayan poet Amanda Berenguer, who I'm just completely crazy about. Recommend. She just appeared in English for the first time in 2019, this incredible book, Prima Materia. My friend Monica de la Torre insisted that I read it, and she was so right. I recommend that. So the quote is, "When I speak of the wonder of the world, I am speaking of everything." Get go. Today, I decided prairie dogs don't have commas, and learned that beetles navigate by stars. I heard a story about crows sprung from volcanoes, and dreamt of shells that grow in the shapes of cars, of fields to be slept in, and hay for bedding, barns for sheltering, cattle breath for warmth. Earth, I love this place. It made the minuscule iron mineral grains in a bird body, helping it get where it goes. Wing flows shaped like origin of flown. And does everyone know what a syrinx is? So we have a larynx. If you're a bird, you have a syrinx. They're very similar, actually. But that sparrow and chickadee have a syrinx the size of a raindrop. And the title of this poem is "With a Syrinx the Size of a Raindrop." A true Twitter star, sparrow, chickadee, changed her name to X, like a stripper stripped all meaning off Elon Musk. Moos of cows, barks of dogs, he thought he owned it all. With the flick of her syrinx, most flexible muscle in the kingdom, animal, just stripped it right off him. While he was atmospherically smashing our faces, crashing missiles towards moons, or like spent track stars running naked, his mouth of true sense and gloating toward cars. There she was, feathering up her ch-ch-ch-ch-ch-ch, hee-hee. Go find Chickadee, black-capped, and listen to her laugh. Chee-wee, chee-wee. This quote's from a Guardian article, just so you know. It starts with a quote, opening up questions for snakes. Trying to find it's not the easiest thing. It's extremely tiny, said the scientist of the death adder clitoris. She dissected it to find the organ forms a triangular shape, like a heart. So maybe a snake's pussy gives pleasure in vaginal relaxation, necessary because her lover will have hemipenes, a pair of them with hooks. Yikes. Tiresias famously smacked mating snakes with his staff, was morphed into a woman and learned many pleasures. Next time Tiresias saw two serpents at it, she left them to their raptures. Vipers, the scientist has dissected. Carpet python, puff adder, Mexican moccasin, discovering these snakes have quite muscular clits. Nervy bundles swelling 1 to 7 millimeters in the act. If you have a human one, it's up 20% in fibers from the previously cited number, which figure, 8K, came from research carried out on cows. We rub the little hill, a glam nub, but a shadow of the parabolic organ brooding beneath the skin. But did anyone split the wishbone and unfurl the appropriate amours for each hour of snake joy? And there's a snake hinge here to a poem in the book. Polishing my animal mirror. This is called Your Kingdom, and it's a book in which I was thinking a lot about symbiogenesis, actually, rather than competition as a driver for evolution. Symbiogenesis meaning the ways that organisms work together, and there's evidence of it in every single cell in our body. Mitochondria, two cells merging, right? And also thinking about all the animals that we're carrying around all the time in our bodies, the work that other animals did. So the one that started this all off is, if you just do that, which feels really good right about now, I'm sure, you can thank amphibians for first inventing shoulders and hips. And so I'm not going to read from that long title poem, but this is kind of a meditation on looking into the mirror. I want to say, I just realized it would be good to say that my brother and his partner and I translated about 10 of these into songs, and Carolina Ebeid has made a video for this poem song that I'm going to say we're dropping it on Friday. So look for it somewhere. Polishing, I'm not going to sing it though, sadly. We'll have to do this again in like 2 weeks. Polishing my animal mirror. Oh, you know what? Actually, there's a part that says, yes, the cat, yes, the bear. And after I say that, you guys should say it too, and then I'll keep reading. Could you? I'll let you know. Yeah, I know you can do it, right? Yeah. Loudest. Cats, bears. Yes, the cat. Okay, wait, let's practice. Yes, the cat. Yes, the bear. Good, okay. Polishing my animal mirror. I was polishing my animal mirror. No moths appeared there in the single crystal genetic light, in the dark mirror candle night. I was polishing my animal mirror, examining my animal teeth. A snake appeared in the mirror's thin gravel driveway. Someone had run over it, had flattened it into permanent S shape. In the animal mirror, my incisors were not fangs, but surely they could still tear meat. Yes, the cat. Yes, the bear. Yes, the cat. Yes, the bear. I was polishing my animal mirror, practicing non-invasive knowing, but wondering about control, the magic skin of this animal mirror. Don't worry, that's just me, you say to yourself, shining like a violet ground beetle under a stone. Sea stars are near vertebrates over to the left. Coelacanth on the far side riding toward you and birds. Reptilian branch of flame on the plain. In the animal mirror, mollusks are inching toward earthworms who, touching themselves, touch earth anew each time they move. And let's see how we're doing. I've got my stopwatch on. Okay, cool. I'm going to read, I think, 2 more poems, 2 more new poems. This isn't finished. I just kind of cobbled it together this morning, thinking about tonight. Let's see how it is. It's called Poem in Progress right now. I see nothing I don't see, and that includes supernovas and you. But look, here you are. Down from on high, asking who from up there will knock out our munitions, target our uranium enrichment sites? Whose hour? Whose who? Who as in whose what? Whose war? Who did not speak? The child, the dead, the soldier, the fleeing, the flower, the field, the exploding. The flowing spoke until we could stay so quiet we heard words being eaten, each ant nibbling the letter, mandibles cutting through shrapnel, each E waiting to be born, a black biomass visible from space, a song, sing it, till the tongue breaks the song or the song does the breaking to the tongue. And one more. And then we'll have snacks. Of the body to the body. Said the lady of the body to the body, be, of the great green engine, the big red tragedy, the huge blue eclipse, the enormous violet motion, and the fairly large yellow, the small white thought, maybe. Winter in the night and winter in the morning. What are we fighting for? Who are we fighting? What mouth of water? What deep well? What foot dips? You walking ash, you talking dirt. Are you talking trash about me? Body talking back. Yeah, I'm trash talking you, you hue of human, said the lady of the body to the body like a river. You, whoever you are, come home!
Well, I, for one, feel really blessed to live in this town after hearing that. And I was just thinking about, Wim Wenders, when he was here a few years back, asked about what film can do. And he said, film is pretty complete, except it can't make coffee. And I was thinking poetry is pretty complete, except it doesn't have alcohol. We're going to have a reception. Please join us. Please introduce yourself to someone you don't know in this room. I think we need to reach out to each other at this time.